There is nothing more polarizing than seeing a Netflix original logo on a show or movie. This can either mean one of two things. It's really, really good, or it is really, really bad. And sadly, it's more often than not the latter. There's a reason Netflix is mostly associated with terrible, cringy high school dramas. Because they're bad. And there is a lot of them. Although when it comes to animation, Netflix has been fairly consistent with keeping up to a high standard. Surprisingly, especially in regards to adult animation. It's usually the opposite nowadays with shows like Brickleberry, Mr. Pickles, and Duncanville.
Let's design your pizza.
Ham and cheese.
Guaranteed in 30. Pepperoni, please.
For the record, I've never seen a single episode of Duncanville. I just really wanted an excuse to show that really dumb pizza clip. I mean, we've got Bojack Horseman, F is for Family, The Midnight Gospel. These are shows I'd recommend to almost anybody. You know, and then we've also got cartoons like Paradise PD and Big Mouth. Yes, sadly, when Netflix screws up, they really screw up. As not only are they home of some of the best adult animated cartoons out there, but also home to some of the worst. And this brings us to where we are today. Hoops. The brand new comedy about a hot-headed, foul-mouthed high school basketball coach who thinks turning around his god-awful team will take him into the big leagues and turn his miserable life around. This show was created by Ben Hoffman, and if there's three things Ben likes, it's comedy, sports, and music. And when pitching to Netflix, they said no, you can only have two. Now, the reveal trailer for Hoops was met with a collective meh. Most brushed it off as another dumb adult comedy about a nihilistic man being terrible for 22 minutes, as it's become quite the trend in recent times. And a lot of complaints were especially directed towards the show's art style, basically saying it's if Rick and Morty and Bob's Burgers had a baby. And I want to be able to say I was an outlier in this and was completely on board and believed this show would be great, but no, yeah, it looked like trash. But something that caught my eye about Hoops was the executive producers, none other than Phil Lord and Chris Miller. The guys behind the Jump Street movies, Lego Movie, Clone High, Spider-Verse, Happiness, Sunshine and Rainbows, basically anything that brings people any modicum of joy. I'm sure these guys had some involvement in it. And they seemed pretty passionate about helping Ben bring his vision to life, and even had some fairly massive influence on major aspects of the show. So surely it couldn't be that bad. Right? Right? But let me get on with the video, you know, I can't just give my conclusion in the opening, you know, you're really impatient sometimes, and I gotta say, you know, it hurts. Anyways, with its so far one season consisting of 10 episodes, does Hoops manage to join the Netflix big leagues with regular words but a horse guy and his peers? Or does it go right down Netflix's big mouth? I don't know. Hoops stars Coach Ben Hopkins. He's the school basketball coach with his team consisting of a group of dorks. See, I know they're dorks because they wear glasses and are fat. And because we've got to complete the set somehow, we've also got our token gay and token black characters here too. But I hope you don't grow too attached to these kids, as I was surprised to find out this show spends just as much, if not more time on the everyday life of Ben and the hijinks he gets up to. The majority of these issues revolve around his wife Shannon, who has divorced him in every way except legally, as he refuses to sign the papers. But she's left him anyway and is now going out with the basketball assistant Ron. But he's a good guy, so Ben is cool with it. So for the most part, the show takes a more episodic approach to its storytelling, which is fine by me. It's hard to go back to a cartoon like Bojack Horseman and watch an episode here and there, bar a few of course, because it's so heavily reliant on continuity and the idea that the viewer is watching each episode in order. That's not a problem, again, I think Bojack Horseman is amazing. But sometimes you just want to throw in a random episode and get ready for some laughs. And oh boy was I ready. But they never came. One of the most important aspects of creating a good comedy is having likable characters. If you like the characters you're watching on screen, you're more likely to loosen up and just go with the flow and laugh along with whatever insanity ensues. But if the opposite happens and your show is full of annoying assholes who constantly whine and scream about their problems while at the same time trying to tell funny jokes, then that doesn't make the viewer laugh, it just really, really annoys them. Guess what category Hoops falls under? Ben is one of the most unlikable characters I've seen in one of these adult animated comedies. I feel like I said that every time a new one of these comes up, but this time I really mean it. Most of the time I end up hating these dumb, exasperating adult men characters because of the stuff they do to the other people and how they affect the world around them. And while yes, Ben has his fair share of those moments, my biggest issue with him is honestly as simple as his voice. I'm gonna play a couple clips of Hoops for you right now and I want you to tell me if you notice anything.
Opal, there's only one way this school has a chance at winning. And then the next thing you know, I'm coaching the Chicago Bulls and I got an infinity pool. This whole pricing system is a goddamn mess. Maddie, you're part of the team now, and we take care of each other here.
This man says every single line with the exact same tone and inflection. And when you've already got a really hard to listen to voice, it makes it near impossible to bear a full episode of him complaining about whatever marital issue he's having that week. And it's not the voice actor's fault. This is the same guy who played Peter Parker in Spider-Verse. This is 100% down to poor direction. Again, this is the very first glimpse we get at how this character acts.
Ah, you inbred pile of donkey shit!
What did you say?
You four-eyed
Now imagine that for 22 minutes, then times it by 10 episodes. If you ever describe yourself as nihilistic, then do me a favor and jump off a... Do me a favor and reconsider how you come off to the people around you, please. And that's not to say you can't have these sort of characters. I know a lot of people see liking this show as some kind of negative thing now, but I still think Rick and Morty did a very good job at having a nihilistic character who thinks he's too good for the world, while still making the audience care for him. I don't know, maybe it's because there are a lot more moments in that cartoon that try to humanize Rick, but the only times that's ever done in Hoops somehow ends up making him look a million times more pathetic and hateable. Not to mention it really takes you out of it when scenes and jokes are followed up by this really unfitting country guitar sting. Okay guys, how about this? From now on, every time I tell a joke in this video, I'm gonna play a sting. Get ready for that, that's how you'll know to laugh. And if I don't see you laughing, why I oughta. But he just whines and whines the entire show, so when they want to have these more lighthearted comedic moments that attempt to make him seem more relatable, it just makes you really want to punch him in the face. His sad little Rick and Morty looking face.
free greens! There's another f***ing green, I'm gonna lose it. In a funny way.
So yeah, I think it's obvious this show has taken a few cues in its art direction from other, more popular cartoons currently airing, more specifically Rick and Morty, and I think that was 100% intentional. Plus, Ben Hoffman originally wanted the show to be live action, until Lord Miller stepped in and warned him that nobody would pick it up if it weren't animated. And he went on board with it despite having no knowledge about the medium. So it's not like he had any kind of style he wanted to go for. I assume Netflix just said, Rick and Morty is popular. Make it like that. Sadly, that's a pretty common thing now. Executives will latch onto whatever the new big thing is and try their best to capitalize on it, and catch lightning in a bottle twice, not realizing that the reason people like these shows is because of the writing, not the art style. It goes in cycles. We've had the South Park ripoffs for a bit, the Simpsons ripoffs. The Family Guy ones have been around from the beginning of time, and now since Rick and Morty blew up in popularity, it's their time to receive imitators. It probably doesn't help Hoops that it was announced around the same time as that new Star Trek cartoon that also takes heavy influence from Rick and Morty. And it's a shame because now these cartoons will be given a chance to stand on their own, because the people behind it decided to ride off the coattails of another popular thing, when it's quite likely that the creator never wanted to go with this art style in the first place. That is not the case with Hoops though, I don't think this guy cared at all about how it looked. And again, when I say ripoff, I mean solely in regards to its art style and character design. I actually think stuff like the backgrounds are pretty well done, but it's all brought down by these boring designs. And also because in terms of writing, this show could not be further from Rick and Morty. Each joke in this show relies on the same 3 or 4 punchlines. It actually reminds me a lot of Brickleberry or Paradise PD, which is why I've enlisted the help of JXE to explain to you how the writing and comedy of Hoops feels. Oh yeah, because that's what they did in their Paradise PD video. I probably should have made that clear in case you didn't know who they were.
I'd love to break down how the jokes in this show are constructed, but they aren't constructed. A huge amount of what passes for comedy in this show is the audience being presented with something rude and or obnoxious, and then the show just going, now laugh. When we're presented jokes like this...
Whoa, look at you. Are you sucking your own dick?
What is there to really deconstruct? We've just been presented the idea that someone could suck their own dick as if that on its own is funny. I mean, that would be a good setup for a joke. Like, a good joke could definitely follow this moment. Let's see what he says next.
No.
No, but it doesn't. That's the joke. He could suck his own dick. Yo, that's hilarious. In fact, that's so funny that the show decides to repeat this gag 3 more times.
You could suck your own dick? With that said, I find it very impressive you could suck your own dick. You Dawa, go suck your own dick!
Yes, it was very important for us to repeat that. Quite frankly, it was comedy gold and it would have been a waste to use it only once. How does one deconstruct a joke like this? You can't break it down into smaller components. The joke itself is just one component, and that component is, ha! Cock! The writers seem to think that they can be funny just by virtue of being rude, or obnoxious.
After my dad left, my mom had to work some crazy...
Boring!
Ha! That's obnoxious. The joke is that Coach Ben Hopkins is... obnoxious. We need to repeat this gag, it's so good.
I've been a single mom his whole life, and You know, I've always worked 2 jobs just to keep him.
Boring.
Watching a full episode of this show, or God forbid a full season, is like watching a series of setups that never get a punchline. This stuff feels like comedy, there are clear recognizable comedic tropes within it, but just seeming a bit like a comedy at a glance is as close to funny as the show gets. If I found a dictionary in Ben Hoffman's house that had the definitions for the words juvenile and funny switched round, that would make a lot of sense.
By the way, Jay is also releasing a video about Hoops, around right now. So go check that out after you're finished this one if you want. The only time I was even mildly interested in this show was with the finale to season 1, which sets up Coach and one of his team members being transferred to a new school and leaving his old life. I was honestly so disinterested in the world they set up and cursed so little about the characters that I was happy to see that they're looking to leave him behind and hopefully take the show in a new direction. And as apparently the first season had viewers in stitches, yeah, I'm sure clickbait article. I'm sure another season will be around the corner soon. So one can only hope that they improve a lot of these issues as the show progresses. Maybe introduce more likable characters, create a more interesting conflict now that his wife isn't there, and explore our main character further, to make him more than a nihilistic douchebag. If they do all this, I really think Hoops could be a pretty decent show. See, that's a joke because I know they're gonna do none of those things.